Hello to my beautiful audience. So first, I just want to say, if you listened to the last episode with my girls, whew, that conversation, that was real. And honestly, we only scratched the surface. So there will definitely be a part two sooner than later, hopefully, because there's so much more to unpack there. But one thing I want you to understand about that episode, and even this one, is that all these conversations are really about one thing: living, freaking living. The ups, the downs, the confusion, the growth, all of it, the human experience. And today, it's just me. And I'm going to be honest with you. I struggle with this episode, as you can tell. Not in my greatest state right now. So, like, I sat here thinking, what am I even going to talk about? Because I feel like I've said so much already. And if you know me personally, or you've been following the podcast, you already know so much about me. We've talked about healing. We've talked about relationships. We've talked about perimenopause. We've talked about life in our 40s, parenting, and the gamut. And I didn't want to come on here and just repeat myself. And then I realized maybe the fact that I'm struggling right now actually is the episode. Because here's the truth. I feel like lately everything is just a lot. And I want to say this in a way that's honest, but really intentional. And I'm going to be real. Work is work. For me, not a career. There are moments where I feel unsatisfied, undervalued, underrespected. And I know I'm not the only one. And it's not even just about my job. It's about the reality that so many of us are out here doing the best we can, and the culture is just off. And we are always feeling like it's just not enough. Still feeling like we're underpaid, more like knowing we're underpaid. Still feeling like we're overextended, which we are. And still feeling like we're pouring into something that really isn't pouring back into us. And I don't care what field you're in: corporate, retail, healthcare, education. It just feels like we're all on just this crazy ass giant hamster wheel. Wake up, work, come home, pay bills, do it again. And some days it really is just like Groundhog Day. Like we're just living to work instead of actually living. And I'll be honest, I am one of the worst when it comes to that. We're tired. We're not sleeping right. Our hormones are doing whatever the hell they want to do. Everything is massively expensive. And the world constantly feels like it's on fire. And what's crazy about it even more is that it doesn't even faze us like it used to. We've gotten to the point that we've normalized the world being on fire so much that all we think about is, even if the world blows up, I'll still have to go to work in the morning or work from home because that damn rent is still due. Every day, every month. And if you've ever had a moment where you felt like I'm about to lose it, I'm about to freaking crash out, I cannot do this one more day the same way. You're absolutely not crazy. Even the most positive person, even the most grounded person, I try to be, has moments where they're like, I just can't right now. And let me say something else, because this really, really matters too. And maybe not everyone can relate to this. When you're a woman, or especially a woman of color, in spaces that don't always reflect us or don't always understand our experience, there's another layer to it. There are things you feel that you can't always explain. Moments where something doesn't sit right. But if you say something, it's totally going to be misunderstood and completely misconstrued. Microaggressions, bias, a lack of respect. That's subtle, but real. And trying to stay composed, trying to stay professional, trying not to be too much while still honoring how you feel. That shit is freaking exhausting. And look, don't get me wrong. I'm grateful. I'm grateful that I have a job. I'm grateful that I can provide for my kids. I say my gratitude every morning and every night. But let's be real. Grateful doesn't always mean comfortable. Grateful doesn't always mean fulfilled. Grateful doesn't mean everything is always okay. And I think a lot of us were raised to believe, just be thankful you have a job. Okay, I am. Yes. But that doesn't cancel out the fact that I want more. I deserve more. You deserve more. And I'm trying to figure out what that looks like. But I also think we need to normalize saying, I'm grateful, but I'm also overwhelmed and I'm not always okay. Because you can be thankful for your life. You can have so much gratitude for everything around you and still feel like you're drowning in it sometimes. And that doesn't make you ungrateful. It truly makes you human. So as you can tell, I've kind of been reflecting a lot lately. And yeah, I've had these moments where I think, damn, if I had made different choices, maybe things would look different now. I may not be in debt with my ex, so financially I'd be better. Emotionally, I probably wouldn't be such a wreck all the time. And even as a mom. And these are hard places to sit in because it's really easy to start beating yourself up. But as always, I had to check myself because there's a difference between accountability and self-punishment. Accountability says, okay, I see it. I own it. Self-punishment says, you messed up and now you have to carry that forever. And I don't really want to do that anymore. At some point, we have to stop asking, why did I do that? And start asking, what am I going to do now? And if I need to make something right, how do I do that? Because we can't go back, but we totally can move forward differently. And a part of that journey has been me trying to find my way back to myself. So I want you to think about this for a second. What is something you used to love that maybe you don't make time for anymore? I didn't even realize how much of myself I had given up until I completely started piecing myself back together. Like real pieces of me. Not the mom version, not the work version, not the I have to handle everything version. Me. And one of those things, basketball. I know it seems so simple, right? I've always loved basketball. I've played it, watched it, cheered for it my whole life. And for a long time, I just stopped. Not really because of my kids, but because I gave up my space, my time. The things that make me feel like me. And over the past couple of years, I've been back into it, watching games again, cheering my teams on, loving every second, and being stressed and annoyed at the same time at times, but actually enjoying it. Even going outside and playing with my son. I mean, shit, my back has been killing me for a week from pounding the pavement, but I loved it. Because for that moment, I wasn't thinking about the stress and the bills. I wasn't thinking about work. I wasn't thinking about anything else. I was just there. And I realized how much I needed that. We all do. And I think that's what's so confusing about this stage of life. Because on one hand, you're finding yourself again. And on the other hand, you're still dealing with parts of you that haven't fully healed. And that showed up for me recently in more ways than one. And it's crazy because while I'm gaining these pieces of myself back, I'm also dealing with parts of me that I don't fully understand yet. And that showed up in a way that caught me completely off guard just the past week. So I had a situation with my ex. I know, shocking. And on the surface, it was something small. It had to do with getting a dog. Now, I know that doesn't sound small, but you'll see why in the context of the situation it really was, because that's really it. But it turned into so much more than that. See, because for a second, I trusted him. Again, just a second, and that's all it took. Because what ended up happening was the same pattern I've seen over and over and over again. Last minute things fall apart. Plans change. Energy shifts. And I'm sitting there like, why did I think this was going to go any differently? And then another layer got added to it. It involved one of his friends. And if you've been listening to this podcast, you already know what I mean when I say that. And let me be clear. It is not about her being a female, a woman, or being around him. That sure as hell is not the issue. Not anymore. The issue is what that represent and what that represented and what it represents still to me. See, when we were married, there were always female friends. And that history doesn't just disappear. So when I said I wanted nothing to do with that, any of his friends, and then he defended her. And I had this moment where shit clicked, like, oh, so you can defend someone. You just didn't defend me all the times I needed it. And you left me hanging off the side of a bridge. So that had nothing to do with that moment and everything to do with what I experienced back then. So now you got all of this shit layered together. Trust being broken again. Old patterns showing up again. Boundaries again not being respected. And then the whole situation when the dog falls through anyway, I got angry. And when he said to me, why are you still so angry from then? Whew, I lost it. Because it wasn't about wanting you. It's not about missing you. It's about the fact that every time I let you into my space, there's chaos attached to it. But here's the part that really made me stop and think. Because after everything calmed down, I realized something. The situation with the dog, that actually wasn't his fault. I know I can say it now. So now I had to sit there and separate what actually happened versus what I felt. And that's when it hit me. The trigger wasn't about the dog. I'm not going to lie. I wanted the dog. I didn't even tell anybody about it just in case it fell through. The trigger wasn't even fully about him. The trigger was about what I've been through, what he put me through, what my body remembers, and how fast my mind connected the present to the past. And what's interesting is it didn't just show up there. It actually showed up in another situation too, with someone we'll call FS. And yes, I'm saying it like that on purpose because if you know, well, you know. And this is someone who has been in and out of my life. And we have a connection. We have a history. We have chemistry. We genuinely enjoy each other. And I'm going to be real about that. Because I don't believe in pretending things are something they're not. But what I've been noticing lately is this. There are still moments where there's a lack of accountability in grown-ass men. Moments where plans are made and then not followed through. Or what he calls cold feet. Or not wanting to take advantage of the situation. And there was a moment recently, again, where it happened. And here we go the second time in a week, having to check myself. Because old me straight up would have internalized that. Would have thought, what did I do? Why am I not enough? Why does this keep happening to me? But this time, nah. Because while I was annoyed, while I still said what I had to say, because there was no way I wasn't going to, I'm a person too. You don't get to come in, get me looking forward to seeing you, and then disappear. Because that shit is childish. I also realized something else. It didn't affect me the way it used to. And that was huge for me. See, both situations with my ex and with FS have actually made me stronger. Not because they were easy. Shit, no way. But because I've learned from them. And that's what growth really looks like. Not that you stop going through things, because you won't until you're dead. But that you start responding differently to them. I try to get my dad to see it that way in his older age, and he doesn't get it. And I also want to say this, because I think there's a lot of judgment around so many of these topics too. As an adult, if you choose to be in a situationship, as with the on and off thing with FS, if you choose to be in something that doesn't look traditional, there shouldn't be shame around that. As long as both you people, or both people, are getting something from it, and you're making that decision consciously. That's your choice as a consenting adult. See, I'm at a place now where I understand that. But what I'm also learning is just because I choose something doesn't mean I ignore how it makes me feel. And somebody else's inconsistency, somebody else's hesitation, somebody else's cold feet is not a reflection of me or on me. And I think that's something a lot of us need to hear. Because we have spent so much time internalizing things that they really weren't ours to ever carry to begin with. And when you look at everything together, the triggers, the relationships, the work stress, the reflection, the growth, etc., it all comes back to one thing. Awareness. Not perfection, not having it all figured out, just awareness. Understanding yourself a little bit better each time something happens. And I think this is something a lot of you definitely need to hear. I need to say it out loud all the time. Not every reaction is about what's happening right now. And not every action deserves a reaction. Sometimes it's about what your body is trying to protect you from based on what it's already experienced. And that's why you can be healing and still get triggered. You can be growing and still react. That doesn't mean you're going backwards. It means you're becoming aware. And I'll be honest, the situation with my ex, I didn't handle perfectly. I really reacted. I really got angry. I said what I said. But the difference now is I don't stay there. I reflect. I understand it. I move through it. And realistically, that is where the growth came in. So I'm sure you're wondering, well, what in the world does this have to do with me? Of course. But if you're in a place right now where you're tired, you're reflecting, you're questioning your choices, you're dealing with triggers you don't fully understand, you're trying to find pieces of yourself again, I just want you to know you're not behind. This is for you. You're not broken. And not to beat a dead horse, but you're becoming more aware. And see, that awareness is where everything starts to shift. I talk about it in a lot of my episodes. It's a central theme. So thank you for being a part of my life. And I hope you're not just listening, but hopefully taking something out of these conversations that we need to continue to have, because there are moments that we feel as women, as moms, with our families and our lives, that we sometimes just feel alone. And it's important to know that you're not. So if this episode spoke to you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Don't forget to like and review and follow me. So make sure you're following the Prosecco Queens podcast on all platforms and on YouTube, because over here, we're healing, we're growing, and we're figuring out this shit in real time with a little class, a little chaos, and a whole lot of truth. I'll see you in the next one, my queens, and to all my kings too. Stay soft where you can and savage where you need to be.